Hello, I'm Dan Gibson. This is another video in the series Talking with Dan Gibson. In this video, I want to address the issue of strawman arguments. Now, if you have never heard of the term, then here's an explanation of what a strawman argument is. A strawman is a misleading argument that distorts an opposing stance in order to make it easier to attack. Essentially, the person using the strawman pretends to attack their opponent's stance, while in reality they are actually attacking a distorted version of that stance, which their opponent doesn't necessarily support. So in a strawman argument, the other person holds up something and says, now this here is Dan Gibson, and this is what he says and what he stands for and so forth. And they talk about me. Actually, they're pointing to the man made of straw and not to the real person. For example, a strawman argument that's common that I hear is Gibson claims to be an archaeologist, but he lies. He's not an archaeologist. And then the argument goes on to say I've not published any academic articles in academic journals and I don't have any PhDs in archaeology and so forth. Strawman arguments are often used in the comment section on my YouTube channel. So what do I say in order to combat the strawman arguments that I am not an archaeologist? In the papers, the books, and the films that I've made, I have never once claimed to be an archaeologist. I am a historian, which is much different. Anyone who starts his argument with, Dan Gibson says he's an archaeologist, but he is not, is giving you a strawman argument. This straw man here says many things, and so they hold him up and they point about him. He claims he's an archaeologist. Maybe they say he's paid by Jews, or they point and say, oh, he's paid by Christians, or they point and say, oh, he's going to get rich, or whatever. None of it's true. Here are some of the recent strawman arguments I've heard. Gibson says there are no mountains or creeks in Mecca. Now this one puzzled me because I've never made this claim. Thankfully, I have the full script of the Sacred City film and also of the YouTube videos. Many of these are posted on the website nabatea.net. You can go see the films that are there, and the scripts are there as well. The word mountain appears 9 times in the film. Twice in speaking of Alat's temple in Wadi Rum, twice when speaking of Mecca, 5 times when speaking about Marwa and Safa, which are mountains in Mecca. I never say that there are no mountains in Mecca, so this is a straw man article. The straw man must have said it, because I didn't. Another typical straw man argument is that I lied about the qibla direction of mosques and said none of them faced Mecca. People claiming this argument then point out Kufa and Fustat, and then they say I lied because, look, these do face Mecca. Now, I have placed all of the qiblas of the first 200 years of Islam onto the internet in a tool. Please go to my website, nabatea.net, select the founding of Islam, and then go to the Qibla tool. This tool will allow anyone to quickly look at qiblas of mosques from the first 200 years of Islam. The qiblas can be arranged in chronological order so anyone can see which mosques were built in which years during the founding years of Islam. Some of these have been torn down, some of these mosques, and they've been totally rebuilt. So we can't tell where the original face because the new mosque is sitting on the spot. So I've listed those as unknown. Listen, the data is all there, and it has been examined by many other people. Now, some have argued with the accuracy of this or that mosque, claiming I'm out by 1 or 2 degrees here or there. And I feel that being out by 1 or 2 degrees is still sufficient to draw conclusions, especially since we are dealing with over 100 mosques in 26 different countries, and we're dealing with multiple different buildings in different state of disrepair. So, how should I answer these strawman arguments? Do I need to go through each mosque that people use as an example against me? Do I need to explain that the Kufa mosque was totally rebuilt by Zayd ibn Abihi after the Second Civil War, and that rebuilding totally demolished that mosque so they could rebuild it? And that's why I list the Kufa mosque as unknown. Even though the current building faces Mecca, it is still not the original mosque that was there. Another mosque is the Fustat Mosque, which was also torn down and totally rebuilt. But thankfully, a description of the ground plan of the original mosque survives. So when I refer to Fustat, I am referring to the original mosque that stood on that spot, not on the one that can be seen today. So this information is all on nabatea.net. When you're viewing a mosque, make sure that you click, there's a box there, and make sure down at the bottom you click Other Information, and then you can read about that particular mosque. Now, another strawman argument is the claim that I say that all modern mosques face Mecca exactly. I've never said this, and in my videos I have asked questions. I say things like, does the orientation of mosques affect the worship of Muslims? I ask questions like this, but I have not made theological statements, as it is not in my place to draw conclusions from this data. It's up to individual Muslims to decide for themselves. However, I have claimed that there are several groups of early qiblas, and some of these were purposely created. I trace the history of people like General Hajjaj and demonstrate why he aligned his mosques differently and why he called them the between qibla. I also trace the trouble that was between the Muslim leaders in North Africa and those in Damascus. When discussing this, I give sources from Islamic history to defend my position. I am making statements based on historical data that I have gathered. Another straw man that comes up is that I'm using flat maps and that the world is round. Now, this really is a misconception because I have never used flat maps for doing my research. I have always used modern electronic maps using the WGS84 datum. In effect, thousands of small maps are placed on a large globe. The Aster satellite system has over 250,000 smaller maps placed on a round globe. This is the kind of accuracy used by scientists and by military all over the world. However, when it comes to illustrating the data on a cell phone or on a computer screen or in books, I must use a flat projection. And this is for illustration purposes only. It's not for working with the data. The strawman argument goes on and on and on. People put words in my mouth and then they argue against those words. I think a lot of this is because I am speaking in English, which is not the mother tongue of many listeners. They may speak Arabic or Farsi or Hindi or Urdu or Indonesian or Malaysian or Chinese or a host of other languages. Putting all the YouTube videos into all of those languages is far beyond my financial abilities. If you visit the Patreon page, you will see that the amount is now at 89% of my goal of $200 a month. That means I receive about $178 each month, which I'm spending mostly hiring people on rev.com who make subtitles in different languages. I spend much more than this on that, and it's coming out of my pocket. Now, some people think I'm getting rich, but it's not me. I'm not the one, but I thank each of you who are giving through systems like Patreon. Every cent goes to making videos, none of it goes into my own pocket. Okay, let's deal with one more straw man that was posted this week. Gibson says that Ibn Zubair destroyed the Kaaba in Petra and then fled while taking the black stone from Petra to Mecca. He was the one who built the new Kaaba in Mecca and placed the black stone in the new Kaaba. Gibson is a crazy liar. Once again, a small part of this is true, but the rest of it is putting words into my mouth. First, I do claim that Ibn Zubair destroyed the Kaaba, the original Kaaba. This is based on Al-Tabri, Volume 20, page 537. It says, Ibn Zubair then demolished the Kaaba sanctuary until he had leveled it to the ground. He dug out its foundation. Then he placed the black stone beside it in a wooden stand in a strip of silk. Now, the straw man argument goes on and says that Ibn Zubair then fled while taking the black stone from Petra to Mecca, and this is a total misconception. I have said that the followers of Ibn Zubair must have moved the black stone from to Mecca in Saudi Arabia. And the arguments supporting this are that the black stone is now separated from the Kaaba building, and I've just read you when that happened and how that happened. Next supporting piece of data is that no mosques face Mecca in Saudi Arabia up until this time. Now, another one, number 3, small indicators are things like people started swearing by the Lord of the Corner and not by the black stone. Another argument, year 70 is almost blank. All that Al-Tabari mentions is that many camels and horses were brought into Mecca, and this is in the middle of the war. From the records, however, we know that Ibn Zubair himself, he stayed in the holy city, and he continued to fight. The civil war went on for some time yet. Eventually, Ibn Zubair was killed there in the original holy city, and one of his sons was killed beside him. Now, I clearly say that all the records of year 70 have been lost. Either the Abbasids didn't allow Al-Tabari to write more, or later editors censored what he wrote. In any case, none of the historians of the Islamic period record what took place at that time. So I cannot point to a specific event recorded in Islamic history. That has been erased. Nothing replaced it. There is a 1-year hole in the middle of Islamic history right at this time. Second, I can point to archaeology and the fact that just after this, there is confusion about the qibla. And from this point on, 4 different qiblas were used in new mosque construction until the Abbasids came on the scene and forced just one qibla to be accepted. We can see that by examining the qibla data. The data is on the internet, open for everyone to check and see. That data is the basis for everything I write. So how should I react to strawman arguments? Do I need to search the internet and try to find them all and to correct them all? Do I need to spend the rest of my life arguing against strawman arguments? Look, I'm not a Jew. I'm not supported by Jews. I'm not an American. I'm not supported by any group in America. Sometimes I compare myself with my Muslim friends. These friends would like everyone in the world to become a Muslim. And so I'm a Christian, and I would like everyone in the world to become a Christian. Now, that doesn't mean that I cannot sit with my Muslim friends and that we cannot discuss things. That doesn't mean we cannot be friends. That doesn't mean that my Muslim friends are all Muslim missionaries. We can have discussions, we can try to understand each other, and in those discussions we can explore our worldview. You see, we have different views of the world. It doesn't help for me to compare Jesus or Muhammad or to compare Christian rights with Muslim rights, because they're all different and there's different groups and different things. You know, Islam and Christianity are based on 2 separate worldviews. We see the world differently. And not just the world, we understand God differently. Now, this is a good place maybe to start discussion, but it doesn't help to get angry and to accuse one another. But what should I do about strawman arguments that contain misconceptions or even lies? Up until now, what I have mostly done is ignore these strawman arguments. People have said all kinds of things claiming that I have said them or that I believe in them. They present all kinds of arguments about me. A good example of this was Adnan Ibrahim, who claimed I did not believe that the Prophet Muhammad existed. And he gives almost a whole sermon on this, against this whole topic, against me, and to prove that Muhammad did exist. But none of it really applies to me. I have never said that Muhammad never existed. All the time, I have argued for his existence in the traditional time period. I have defended Muhammad's existence. But Adnan Ibrahim builds this great straw man, claims that I do not believe in the existence of Muhammad, and then he preaches a whole sermon against the straw man. It would be interesting to put together all the arguments that I supposedly said that point to the straw man and to figure out who is this straw man and what have people created in their minds about who I am and what I said and what I believe. I hope this video will help you. Please Watch the videos, listen to what I am saying, not to what people imagine I am saying. Please don't be persuaded by strawman arguments. Please read Al-Tabari, read Bukhari, read Ibn Sa'ad, read Ibn Hisham, and others. They are the traditional historians of Islam. If you are a Muslim, you should know something of your own history. You should read these histories. Do not take it from me. Read your own historians. Ask yourself honest questions. I'm Dan Gibson. This has been another video in the series, Talking with Dan Gibson.